Welcome, NHL 94 fans. Another podcast for your viewing and listening pleasure. This rip, I had the pleasure to sit down and chat with Josh Yohe. He's a Pittsburgh dude. He writes for The Atlantic. He covers the Pittsburgh Penguins. And we linked up on X when he commented on one of my 94 posts. I decided to reach out to see if he was interested in chatting with me. And sure enough, he agreed. Josh is more of a 95 fan, so we covered that a little bit more than 94. We go over a few things like the Olympics, and we try to do revisionist history to see what would happen if the Russians were allowed to play. Talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins season, RBI Baseball, which is a absolute love of mine, the Tecmo games, we talk about NHL Rewind, and a whole lot more. This is a bit of a departure from my usual podcast, so I hope you enjoy it, as I had a blast chatting with Josh. Well, enough about me. On to the show. Welcome, 16-bit hockey fans, to another edition of the NHL 94 podcast. I'm Len the Lengend, and today I'm joined by Josh Yohe. Josh, how are you, buddy?
I'm very well, and I don't play video games as often as I used to. I need to get back to that in my old age, but it's nice to talk about them a little bit.
Oh, we will talk about them quite a bit. Now, you're a Pittsburgh dude, and you write for The Athletic, and you cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, not the 16-bit version, the actual team. Is that correct?
I do. That is correct, yes. I've covered the Penguins, since 2009, so going on 17 years now.
Are you happy with the season this year? Because they've doing pretty darn good compared to last year.
No, they've been a great story all year, and that's all you ask for in my line of work. It's not necessarily are they good or bad, but are they interesting more than anything? And they are interesting right now in a pretty bad Eastern Conference. They are a lot better than I think anybody could have anticipated. Sidney Crosby still doing Sidney Crosby things for Team Canada as well. So that certainly helps. And the readership, the fan base are definitely into the Penguins this year. So that's always good for my line of work.
How much do you think Crosby has left in the tank? He's 38 now, if I recall correctly.
He is, and he's still, he's not the best player in the game anymore. Certainly McDavid passed him a few years ago in that regard, but I still think he's top 10. Like, I really do. He's going to put up another 90-point season or whatever. I think if he stays healthy, I could see him play 3 or 4 more years. That certainly wouldn't surprise me. He's a hockey junkie. He loves it. If he stays healthy and he keeps operating at somewhere close to this level, especially if the Penguins start to get good again, which they've certainly made some strides in the last 12 months or so, I think, bringing in a lot of young talent to the organization. I could see him stick around for a few more years. In fact, somebody asked him recently, we were in Vancouver on a road trip, about this being his last Olympics, and he actually said, well, if it's my last Olympics. I was okay. Why not?
Who knows? He may still be around. Gordie Howe played until he was, 49? 51. No,
51, right? 51, yeah.
He laced it up with the Hartford Whalers.
Yeah, Yager's still playing, so who knows? I mean, Yager turned 54 today. It's his birthday, so
Another Pittsburgh legend.
There you go.
Penguins legend, yeah.
We'll be talking about him in this hour, yes.
Well, we have to. So you were back. You must have watched him back in the day. You were a Pittsburgh Penguins fan back when they won their back-to-back Stanley Cups.
Yeah, I was born in 1980, so I was 11 and 12 when they. Those are my guys in the early 90s. And that was not only a great team, but one of the most entertaining teams ever. Just littered with Hall of Fame players. So I very much grew up on Mario and Yager. So I'm hard to impress when it comes to talented hockey players, because when you grow up watching those two play, you get a little spoiled real quick. Like, why can't other guys make that pass? Like, well, that's because it's Lemieux and Yager. That's why. I definitely grew up on those teams. I've covered Crosby forever. Like, you're in my line of work, you're around a lot of famous people, so you don't get starstruck very often. But like when Mario or Yager come around, I'm always like a little kid just kind of looking up at them, because, when I was a kid, those were the guys, and they are still very much royalty in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, that's the way it is.
Now, the Olympics are now full board right now. It's the Americans had a game today, Canadians had a game today. And just curious, what are your thoughts with the Olympics without the Russians being there?
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I know there's.
I don't want to talk about the political side. The fact that they're not there.
I know. I wish they were. If we're talking strictly, and I think they should be. I mean, listen.
It's not our call.
The world's a messed up place. It's not like my country is innocent of things either. I mean, let's be honest. But from a hockey standpoint, I mean, listen, Canada's the favorite no matter what, but Russia is one of the 3 or 4 best teams. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. And especially when Sweden really hasn't looked very good. And I don't know, the US has looked pretty good, not great. Yeah, boy, Russia would certainly add some spice
Yeah.
to this tournament. I don't think there's any doubt. But even though they haven't had real stiff competition yet, Canada looks like the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, I mean, they are like, and listen, I think the U.S. has a better blue line and better goaltending. I really do. But they don't have McDavid or Celebrini or McKinnon or Crosby or McCarr. When you've got those 5 guys, that's just that kind of star power is hard to match. So I'm not really a betting man, but I would not bet against Canada. I'm sure they're going to get a close game at some point. I don't care how dominant a team looks. There's going to come a game. Oh my God, it's tied at 2 in the third period. What's going to happen? But I can't bet against them. I know, knowing Sid as well as I do, I know how much it means to him to represent Canada. It means the world to him, and I think McDavid's kind of making this his signature tournament so far. He's been unreal. So I will not bet against the Canadians, that's for sure. And U.S. got a really bad piece of luck when they're probably going to get Sweden in the quarterfinals, which I don't think anybody
Oh,
would have expected. The way the draw worked out, they're the 2 seed, Sweden's the 7, so they're probably going to get them. Canada's definitely got an easier path to the final, no question. And listen, they're the favorite. They are every game. I don't care if they're playing France. It just feels like a big event anytime that team takes. It's like when I was a kid. It reminds me of the Dream Team in '92 with Michael Jordan and
uh-huh.
Magic Johnson. Like that's what it reminds me of. Like it's just like the biggest names in the sport, and they're all from one place.
It's just too bad the Russians were there because, I mean, aside from the political side, but just the fact that they would have added so much more competition, just one more opponent that whoever wins this might have had to overcome, because yeah, they would have been able to ice a very
Oh,
competitive team. And I'm kind of disappointed you didn't mention the Italian team, the great Italian team, and they
the
the past.
Italians, listen now, listen. They gave Sweden a scare, and I respect it. They absolutely did. And getting back to Russia, you're right. Now listen, I cover Evgeny Malkin. I know this is driving him crazy. He could have had one last Olympics. Ovechkin could have had one last one when, especially after what happened in Sochi, when they had all the pressure in the world on them and they failed. Um, yeah, I mean, it would have been unbelievable theater, and maybe this is the American in me, and because when you're from the United States, you get indoctrinated on the Miracle on Ice and everything. But
Yeah,
I actually mean this as a
good
compliment.
times.
I mean this as a compliment. The Russians, like, they're great enemies. They're the great bad guy to have in a tournament. They just like they're naturally fun to root against. I guess that's the Americans now, but no, I mean they always add spice to a tournament. Of course they. Can you imagine how cool this would be if we had Ovechkin in this tournament? Like for his last international hurrah, it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, it's too bad he has to sit on the sidelines for this, but hey, it is what it is, and we have no control. We're just
That's
fans
right.
simply watching. But and I dragged you here today. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about hockey games, retro games in general. I know that you and I connected on Twitter because I was posting at NHL '94, and you must have tweeted out something or retweeted us, and I was like, wow, you're a fan of NHL '94, and from my little bit of investigation, you're a big fan of 95. I think 95 is your favorite hockey game. Am I correct?
It is. I will tell you, I still remember the first time I ever played '94. I was in 8th grade. And
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know what was going on in school that day, but somebody had a Super Nintendo with them in school. And I guess, I don't know if it was the day before a holiday or something. We were taking it easy. And somebody just hooked it up. And the teacher was like, you guys can play, whatever. I started like, I'm like 14 years old. I started playing this game. Like, this is awesome. Oh my God. And like, I figured out the wraparound goal real quick that was very effective. Like, ooh, this is all right. And, my mom bought it for me not much longer. But yes, 95 the next year, for whatever reason, that became my favorite. And I will tell you now, an NHL 95. A few years later, I went to college with my best friend Jesse, and we would play like against each other, but our favorite thing to do on NHL 95, they had a feature where you could play 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 or two, and we would play 2 versus 2, and we were both Penguins fans, so we would play Pittsburgh versus Pittsburgh, and it was just Lemieux, Yager, and Barrasso against Lemieux, Yager, and Barrasso, and we had like this huge piece of paper on our dorm room wall, and we would play like 82 game seasons, and we would play
Oh
like
my
10.
god.
We'd play like 10 games a night. We were like sleeping through classes the next morning because we were playing till 5 in the morning, right? And we would, oh my god, I would usually win. I was better than he was, but I mean, it was fun. And my favorite thing about the game, like the graphics at the time were fine and the features
Mhm.
were fine, but specifically, it was the play control. Like I actually thought for a video game that's what like over 30 years old now, whatever, yeah, 31 years old. Um, like when you're handling a player and he has the puck, it actually like felt pretty good. Like you could actually like some of the even later games, I felt like the actual control. I'd hit the
Yeah.
button and it's like it's not quite the same. I don't know what it was about that specific game. It's like, man, they did something right. The timing, like everything was just beautifully in sync. And I spent a lot of hours of my life playing that game, and I aim to get back to it, especially like during the summer when I have downtime.
There's a gentleman by the name of Segathon on Twitter. I'll be happy to introduce you to him. He organizes online games, tournaments,
Oh,
and all that jazz for 95. So
yes.
if you want to get into that, and if you
All
want to get
right.
into the 94 side of things, I'll be happy to show you
Of course.
the ropes for that. But did you play Blades of Steel or ice hockey for the NES when they came out?
Of course. I got ice hockey when I was 8 years old for Christmas in 1988. I remember it vividly. I got Blades of Steel the next year, I think. I enjoyed both. I probably liked ice hockey better. I just enjoyed like the fat guy, the skinny guy, the medium sized guy, and trying to figure out what was best for your lineup. And I believe that was like countries, right? It was like Canada,
Yeah, it
U.S., Sweden,
was.
Russia.
Yeah.
It's just, oh yeah, that was it was most enjoyable. And Blades of Steel, of course, I can still hear the Blades of Steel. I mean, oh yeah, it was also a classic game. It was a great era for sports games, like even for the 8-bit. I had all of my RBI Baseball was a personal favorite of mine as well. And oh god, there were RC Pro Am was good fun, but yes, ice hockey in particular, I found it kind of hard actually. I never found that to be the easiest game to master. But oh man, it was good fun. And the
Did you have a
Zamboni. Remember the
sorry?
Zambonis at the intermission?
Oh yeah,
Like, oh come on, this is unbelievable. We got Zambonis in this game.
48-bit game. Did you have a goat lineup that you always played with that? Because did you always say, I gotta have, two fat guys and a skinny guy, or two skinny guys and like what was your go-to lineup to kick
I,
ass in that game?
I never went with the medium sized guys. I usually had like two big guys and three fast guys, I think is what it
No, it's
was.
it's a total of three guys on the
Oh,
ice.
oh, that's right, it's three. There's two and one. Then I always had
Yeah.
more. I think it was two skinny and the one big guy. That's right. And I would just hammer shots from the point with the big guy. That was kind of the game plan, as I recall. Um, but yes, that was. I don't know anybody who didn't like that game, like in
Yeah, I know.
1989. I mean, that was. Trust me, Gen Xers such as myself, we very much appreciated ice hockey. It was just very simple game and to the point. But it was great fun. And Blades of Steel too. I feel like Blades of Steel may have been more famous or popular, maybe. And I enjoyed Blades. I think it had fighting too, didn't it?
It
I
did,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, which
And the
always,
loser
of
wins in the
course,
box.
when you're a kid, that adds an element to it for sure. I enjoyed them both immensely. Probably ice hockey better, but I certainly played both quite a bit.
RBI Baseball. You mentioned that name. I absolutely adored that game on the NES,
Yes.
but the arcade version is absolutely an incredible play as well. I remember we used to play a ton RBI Baseball 2 back in the day, and we put so many hours into that game.
Oh
Did you
yeah.
also have a like a lineup sorry, did you also go up against your buddy and have the score sheets on the side and the 162 game season or something, or is it?
No, I don't recall doing that with RBI Baseball. I was much younger then. But I will say for NHL 95, it got pretty intense. I mean, we never got into fights or anything, but we would, you know, yeah, we would take it pretty seriously. And I'll never forget, like, it's 2-on-2 hockey, so there's a lot of
Yeah.
goals scored. And there was one time, like, I beat him, I think it was 2-1, and it was the lowest scoring game we ever played. And I looked at him, I said, it was 3 in the morning. I said, are we just like half asleep? Is that why we just played like we were the Devils, played some like
It's clutch
neutral
and
zone
grab
trap
era.
game? And I will never forget. It was one of the funniest things I've ever heard in a video game. He looked at me and he says, "No, no, our games have just matured." Like, oh, yes, there it is.
It's
There it is. Our goaltending, because that game, like, you could kind of let the computer control the goaltending, or you could
Yep.
just take over manually. And we would take over manually, and we had gotten a better feel for the angles and how aggressive to be with the goaltending. So a lot of, and there were some controversial things. In fact, I don't know, like if all the games had a glitch or if it was just mine, but there was this really weird glitch when we would play 2-on-2 with Pittsburgh. When Lemieux would get hit and like go through the boards, and he would like take a second to get up and shake his head like he's a dog. Then he gets up. He would always switch to being left-handed. I,
Ah.
yeah, we would always call it left-handed Lemieux, and left-handed Lemieux was without question the greatest hockey player of all time. Like I'm from Pittsburgh, so I already think he is the greatest player of all time. But let me tell you, left-handed Lemieux was unbeatable. And we were like, so we were actually in a playoff series. It was like Game 5 in overtime. Left-handed Lemieux emerged and scored on a breakaway, and he was furious. He like basically demanded a do-over. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Left-handed Lemieux showed up. But his efficiency was unbelievable. Like his analytics must have been through the roof. Left-handed Lemieux, like there's never been a phenom quite like it. I'm telling you.
How dare you abuse a bug in the game and take advantage like that against your friend? That's awful stuff.
I know, right?
You played the Super Nintendo. You ever played the Sega Genesis version of any of these NHL games?
Oh, sure. I did. I got so comfortable with the Super Nintendo. That was always my comfort zone, so I always enjoyed it more. I was like I liked Sega. I had both, but I was at that time I was just a fierce Super Nintendo man. Just something about the play control and the controllers, just for whatever reason, was more comfortable for me. But I certainly played Sega as well and enjoyed it. So it was I could, if somebody wanted to play me in Sega, it was fine. I'd make I was like a goalie. I'll just use different equipment. It's fine. I'll go out and play. It's fine. I enjoyed it still.
You a fan of football as well?
Oh, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Of course I am.
Because the Steelers, there's some great teams in the early '90s, late mid '90s, and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
But before that, they became great. They had Tecmo Bowl, if you recall, and the Steelers were okay at that time. Wondering if you even played the game Tecmo Bowl back in the day.
I sure did. I was a Tecmo Bowl owner. Yeah, the Steelers were not good on that game. That was like even when kind of like now, even when the Steelers are bad, they're still like 500. They're never really bad. But in those like late 80s, early 90s seasons, their offenses were terrible. They just had this ability to win games 13-10, but that doesn't translate all that well to video games. So I remember like the Denver Broncos I think it was Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl was like unstoppable, right? So I would, I always wanted to be loyal, so I wanted to, be Pittsburgh when I played. But I will admit, on a few occasions, I played with like the Broncos or other teams because it was kind of it was very clear. Like wait a second, these teams why is this guy twice as fast as running back? This is ridiculous. But no, there was something very cool about that game. I always appreciated it. And that's another one. Like I don't know anyone from that era who played video games and who was into sports who did not like Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean that was like before there was the Madden games.
Yeah.
And they were great. I mean, we all own a bunch of them, but the Tecmo Bowl, man, that was good fun. And the thing about the Madden games, like they were more modern, the graphics were better, and what I liked about them was just the features. Like on Madden, you could create your own player. Like I don't know about you, but that's one of my favorite things to do in video games, hockey games too. Like I'll create my own team. It'll just be all people I'm friends with. I would create other teams of people like that I didn't like in school or whatever. And I would play them in video games. Like that was more fun than like Lemieux versus Gretzky or something for me.
So in the football games, you got rid of Mike Tomczak and put your own player. It's like you got rid of the mighty Mike. Come on, how could you get rid of him?
Well, I mean, after what Neil O'Donnell did in Super Bowl 30, there was yes, I would I'd usually be the running back. My neighbor Lou was the quarterback. He was the one who had wisdom. So I yeah, but no, there was oh yeah, and my best friend and I, we would, if we got a little tired of hockey, we would change up for a bit, because the amazing thing about video games, I always find, you can love a game, be obsessed with it, then you like go a couple games without playing, or a couple months without playing, and it's great that second wind you get when you go back and play it after a while. It's like, oh man, this is great. I'm back into this game again. Like I don't know how that worked, but there were certain games you would just, oh man, I found my second win. This is wonderful.
I played not too long ago. 93, I think, Madden, and was it Barry Foster or Bam Morris? I forget who it was.
Could
Oh
have been
my God,
either then. Yeah. Yeah.
they had a good team. The Steelers, they were able to really dominate. Good defense. Just give the ball to the running back. Just do
That's right.
smash mouth football. Good times. Like Steelers had a good team back then.
That's what Bill Cowher liked until like after 15 years. Like, God, I need a good quarterback if I want to win a Super Bowl, though. So that's just the way it works.
Do you remember one time Cower got angry at a call, and it was a field goal that was called back because
Too
they
many
said there's too
men.
many, and he put the piece of paper in the referee's pocket.
That was
The picture
19.
that we didn't have too many men.
I remember it very well. It was week 4 in 1994. The Steelers were home against the Minnesota Vikings, and Cowher actually took the photo, stuffed it right in the referee's shirt. Oh yeah, I'll never forget that. No, Cowher was awesome because he would like go totally nuts during games. There was one in '97. Steelers were going for a game-winning field goal in Jacksonville. It was on a Monday night game. It got blocked, and Jacksonville was returning it for a touchdown, which was, of course, ending the game. And if you watched, they were running right past Cowher, and Cowher actually like leans back like he's going to punch the guy. He actually had his arm cocked, and then he thought better of. Oh yeah, he was an intense dude, and he's from Pittsburgh too, so he was pretty wildly popular the whole time he was here. No question about that.
So I want to just trigger this back to the hockey games. NHL 94 in particular. I'm not sure if you're aware, but they made a remake to this called NHL Rewind or NHL 94 Rewind, and it's available like on the Xbox, on the PlayStation. Have you seen this or heard of this?
I've heard of it. I've not actually had a chance to play. How is it? I mean, is it?
It's
Is it?
modern rosters. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so you're basically
Oh,
playing. I mean, it's 2021, so now it's 5 years old. But still, like at the time, it would have been those rosters. So yeah, like if you're playing essentially 94, but with modern guys, the only thing they fumbled the ball on, they didn't leverage any of the online play for like the Xbox or the PlayStation. So you couldn't play with anybody online. It was only local play. Like what a rip. I mean, you
yeah.
figure.
This day and age, we need to be able to play against one another. I mean, that's yeah. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm glad they did it, but yeah, that's you go all the way if you're gonna have that kind of innovation and take care of society like this. At least go all the way, right?
Yeah. So you no longer play at all any of these vintage games. You're just basically 100% work and all,
I Man, it's when you get old and you have kids, it's tough.
Yeah.
But I miss it. I should. I still have like a couple of PlayStations that I like to play with. Unfortunately, my Super Nintendo's finally succumbed. I don't know if there's any out there that still work, but
There's tons.
all
Yeah.
right. See,
These things they survive nuclear wars. These I'm surprised yours
I need to go on eBay and take care of that then, perhaps this evening, because this is really reinvigorating me.
all right.
Yeah, but no, I mean, because at some point, like I don't know, like I know with the Madden games, I can play like Madden 24 versus Madden 16. I don't see that much difference. Like I understand there is, but I think it's getting harder, right, as the years go by. Whereas like from 92 to 93 was a big difference in 93. Like back in the 90s, like every year was like, oh my God, this is like totally different. Look at these
Yeah.
graphics. It was really a time of progress for the video game, I think.
And when we were coming say from like the ice hockey or the Blades of Steel and coming into the 16-bit, it was I remember when I first saw NHL hockey and it was the 92 version. I saw it at a friend's house. My mind was blown away to see the blue ice, and it was the Genesis version, the blue ice. Just looked like this thing looks absolutely amazing. But that like I became an instant fan of the game, and then thankfully the series they made some really good games back then. But then also people they talk highly about 96 and 98. I have to admit, I haven't played any of those, but have you touched them? Because apparently they were very good on the consoles. I was wondering
I,
if you give those a shot as well.
I remember '96 I played and I liked it. I'm sure I did play a couple of after that, but I was so smitten with 95 that I had found my video game home. I didn't really require another game after that one. I found that game to be so spectacular. Like so I had other hockey games in later years into the early 2000s that I would play. and they were good. Like I didn't dislike any of them, but I never found another video game. I always say if I could like take one video game to the afterlife, and it's just one NHL '95 is what I would take. Like
Hey,
there's
that's
lots of
fair,
games.
man.
There's lots of games I've loved, but that game, man, just everything about it to me was just so perfect. And I guess it's easy to romanticize, games when you're a kid. Like I was 15 then, so that's kind of probably entering your video game prime or whatever. But I still thought it wasn't over the top, but it was just like lots of options and very simple gameplay, and I just loved it. It felt like playing street hockey after
Yeah.
school, or road hockey, as my Canadian friends like to call it. That's just what it was. Like you go outside and you play. I'll play for a couple hours before dinner time. That was that game.
You know what was lost over the years is when we were kids growing up playing games and you wanted to play with somebody, it's always somebody had to sit next to you. It was a couch game, right? We lost this. Nowadays, if you're going to play with somebody else, it's always going to be online. There's no, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't tease the guy next to you. You can't punch him when they scored a great goal against. There's something we lost with this. It's too bad the physical connection is no longer there.
I find it's kind of an interesting parallel to me. I feel the same thing. I don't know if you're like a fantasy hockey guy or a fantasy football guy. Like
I used to be.
I'm a big fantasy football guy. Like, I've never gotten into fantasy hockey. So there's too much work every day, and I get sick of hockey after a while. So that's what I do at work every day. Big fantasy football guy. I've been in the same league for 20 years. And back in the old days, like we would actually go to somebody's house, and the draft would be like a 6-hour event. There'd be some drunk people. There would be a lot of shit talking taking place. Now we just do it on Yahoo's website, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's just not fun. Like it's not that takes away from the charm. And I understand like we all have lives and we're busy, but man, I kind of miss like on Labor Day just going over to Mark's house and spending all afternoon and making fun of people for taking kickers in the 7th round or whatever. Like those were the days.
So with respect to 95, I definitely need to introduce you to Segathon because they also have in-person tournaments periodically. I don't know where specifically, but I think this is something. If it's nearby you and you wanted to, wet your whistle, this
listen. Even if it weren't, this might be something that would be of interest to me. That's just let's go to Los Angeles for a week. Sure, let's make this happen. I can do this.
Now, I gotta pull your strings. You're a Sacramento Kings fan as well. Game 7. Lakers Kings. Were the refs on the take?
Yeah, I mean, actually, you're gonna get me worked up. But Game 6 was even worse, actually. But yeah, I forget how many free throws the Lakers had in those 2 games. It was just an outrageous. It was like 50 free throws or something. The game must have been 3 hours. Listen, I'm biased, of course, but there was, an NBA official who got busted and went to jail during that time for fixing games. I don't think it's any secret that the NBA would have liked to have had the Lakers in the finals and not the Sacramento Kings from a financial standpoint. We all know David Stern rigged the 1985 draft when he like hit the envelope, before the lottery ball, and then the Knicks got Patrick Ewing. Like, yeah, I've always wondered. I mean, and I think what happens in sports though, like everyone wants to say it was fixed or they had money on it. Usually that's not the case. But what happens, I think, like I admit I don't like the New England Patriots. I'm from Pittsburgh, right? It would seem like they always got every call. It would drive you, they always got every break. It would drive you insane. But I do find that NFL refs are human. And who's going to intimidate them more? Like some first year coach or Bill Belichick or some first year coach or Andy Reid. Like there's a reason those teams get calls because, but I think guys get intimidated because of who they are. Like I will bring it to this season. The Penguins have been one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They also, I forget the exact number. They've been shorthanded way more than they've had the power play this year. Like a really bizarre amount for a team that has the puck a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They have a first-year coach who's a no-name, who's a really nice guy, and Dan Muse. A little different when Mike Sullivan was barking at them all day. Like that's a real thing. Guys like that get more calls because refs get intimidated because they're human. So I think that's probably what happened. Like that's Rick Adelman's that team's coach, or Phil Jackson's that team's coach, or that's Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Yeah, they're gonna get the calls. Hockey's the only sport where star players usually don't get the benefit of the doubt with calls as much, whereas the NFL and NBA. It's like I grew up in the '90s. I think Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time, so I'm taking nothing away from him. Man, he got every call. I mean, if you breathed on him, it was getting called. It's just the way it was.
He was mugged by the Pistons though in the late
Oh,
'80s.
yeah, they almost murdered him a couple of times. That is true. So he earned it. I mean, there's no doubt.
And then the snubbing after when they finally beat the Pistons and they just walked off
They
without
walked off
shaking
the court.
hands.
That was my God. Yeah,
Except for
see, the
one guy, I
Pistons
forget
were
who it was.
the Pistons were like the Russians. They were just like they were good enemies, right? Like I remember like Dennis Rodman and Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars just walking off the court. Like it's kind of weird. Wow. And the Bulls, I remember Scottie Pippen was kind of looking at him like, really? Like, okay.
And then a dream team, unfortunately, they snubbed Isaiah Thomas after that.
Oh, did they ever? That wasn't by coincidence, I don't think.
No, certainly by design.
Uh-uh.
So then you must have played NBA Jam back in the day, right? That was such a popular game.
Oh
Everyone
yeah,
loved playing. Like the
I
arcade
did.
version. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, playing it, I would actually play it in the arcade sometimes, which was unbelievable fun. Some games are just made for arcades. Like I was actually there's a version of it to this day at Dave and Buster's. I was actually Dave and Buster's in Toronto last year, and they have like kind of an NBA Jams type thing. And my son and I were, he's like, "This game's awesome." I'm like, "Yes, it is, son." And I think we were there for about an hour playing it. It was fun at home, but in the arcade, it was like
Yeah.
next level. It just some games just have that unique quality, and that certainly was one of them. But yes, I enjoyed that. I like basketball games. I don't know that I had one that was necessarily a clear favorite that stood out, but there were a lot of good games back then, and but that one,
Yeah.
that game was just different than any other game. It just had a certain appeal about it.
He's on fire. That's what I remember. Double Dribble was another good game too. But that was,
Yeah, I love Double Dribble. Yeah, that was my first one actually. Yes, which I
yeah.
also thought was a weird name for a game, but it kind of worked anyway. Yes, I enjoyed Double Dribble quite a bit.
All right. I want to transition to a part of the show that I like to call the rapid fire segment where I just shoot you pucks and you could just fire them home really quickly. So let's just start with maybe a little bit of controversial question. Who's better, Lemieux or Crosby?
Oh, Lemieux by far, and listen, I think Sid's one of the 5 best players ever. I will say this: Crosby's had a better career. He's had a more accomplished career. Lemieux was a much better player. Lemieux was so much more talented, probably than anybody who ever lived. McDavid might be the closest. He certainly is entering the discussion, but Mario could just do things with his back hurting and at half speed, and he would still put up his 2 points a game. Crosby's the most accomplished player, other than Gretzky, maybe ever. Pure accomplishment. And I think the world is Sid, but I just think Lemieux was just so gifted, and what he had to play through, we can't really quantify. But I still always would pick him though.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go on a tangent here. I 100% agree. Lemieux, especially for the first few years, he was surrounded by like the Dan
Oh,
Quinns of the world, and
yeah,
he had
yeah.
nothing. Mo
He was one of the
Manta.
good ones. Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, people don't know how bad the Penguins were in the '80s,
Yeah,
and that was the only time when Lemieux was ever really healthy.
yeah,
Even his back really got bad starting in '89, and it was like touch and go. When I would go to a game as a kid in the early '90s, like you would keep your fingers crossed during warmups to make sure he came out because he missed games all the time. If he would get back spasms, they just couldn't control them at that point. And he didn't do a lot to help himself with his health. I don't think he was like smoking then and never worked out, or like when he had that much talent, he like I think he just
yeah.
would show up at the rink and that's all he had to do. But yeah, my buddy Jesse, who I mentioned earlier, we always called it long-haired Lemieux. But long-haired Lemieux is the greatest force of nature there's ever been on a hockey rink. I truly believe that.
He was so good, and he had that point streak. I think he went to 40 something games, and the story I read was his teammates used to help him get over the boards to
Mhm.
get on the ice for a shift because his back was so bad he couldn't lift his legs over the board, and he was still able to produce at such a high level. The NHL was the highest level, still to this
Yeah.
day, and he was
Yeah.
still able to put up a point a game for 40 something games.
It's 46. And I actually wrote an article about it a few years during COVID. We were just looking for things to write about. And I thought, oh, that'd be something fun to write about that. Because I remember as a kid, and the equipment manager actually made him a special kind of stool, almost like when you're trying on sneakers at the store. Because he didn't want other people tying his own skates. Like I think he felt like at least I want to be able to tie my own
Yeah.
skates, you know. So, but he couldn't bend down. So they build him something that kind of like raised his foot up, so he didn't have to bend down, and he could tie his skates just while he was sitting there at his locker. Like
Incredible.
I've heard stories on Mike Lang, the great Penguins play-by-play man who passed away about a year ago. He told me stories that he said we'd be on the plane and he couldn't even put his luggage like in the overhead area. He was in so
Yeah.
much pain, and and he would play through it. And that he had a 46 game streak. It ended actually on Valentine's Day in 1990 in Madison Square Garden. It was in the second period of the game. Craig Patrick was actually coaching the Penguins then, and the general manager, and he said, Mario, that's enough. Like
Yeah.
you need medical attention. Like this, he couldn't move, and he wanted to keep playing because he was 5 games away from the Gretzky record. He just couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
It's too bad. We not only lost him for the back, but then also the Hodgkin's disease. He was having an incredible season in 92, 93, and he was shut down.
Yep.
And he ended up getting treatment. And the last day of treatment, he essentially completed it, jumped on a plane and went to the game and played the Flyers,
Philly.
I believe, in
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
yeah, he had a golden assist that night. It's a great story. They were like, "Don't you want to wait a few days?" He's like, "No, I want to play tonight," because they gave him the green light after the last radiation treatment. So he was just going to fly commercially from Pittsburgh to Philly that afternoon and go right to the game. Well, the flight got canceled. So there was a woman who worked with the Penguins at the time, and she, she said, what are we going to do? And Mario said, I don't know. And she said, well, Mario, surely you know somebody that has a private plane. And this is like 1993 when cell phones were like just becoming a thing. Mario whips his big cell phone out. He says, as a matter of fact, I do. So he makes a call. An hour later, he's on a private plane to Philly, shows up 2 hours before the game, scores a goal and an assist. And yeah, he finished with 160 points in 60 games that year.
Yeah.
And he very well may have broken Gretzky's record of 215. He was right on pace, so it would have been really close. Oh, he wanted to, and that was the one year when he was pretty healthy with the back, and then he
Yeah.
gets cancer. And even though he came back from it, and he's perfectly healthy to this day, um, I would argue he was never quite the same after that season. He still had some dominant years, but he the one-on-one ability and the skating, like I think there was a fatigue level from that point on. And he would say that at times from all the cortisone shots he took on his back and also from the radiation treatments. You talk with anybody who's had cancer and radiation treatments, it's great when they survive and they can still live normal lives, but they'll say like, sometimes there's more of a fatigue. You never feel quite the same. And I think he would say that. So still, but what he did that year after he came back and he won the scoring title anyway, like one of the greatest I think he had 27 goals in his next 18 games after he came back from the radiation treatments. Like that's not human stuff.
And they missed out on the three-peat. The Islanders, Volek, I think it was, that scored the overtime goal. And
David Bullock. Oh yeah.
I have I watched that game not too long ago. It seemed like the Penguins weren't hungry that season. They just, for whatever reason, that game they didn't have that drive to like just push them over the edge they had the previous 2 years. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe they ran into the Cinderella team.
I was 13 then, so it's not like I was covering them, but I know a lot of guys who played on that team. I think they were arrogant. I think they thought they were unbeatable. I think that's what it was more than anything. And that two things in that series. Mario's back was really bad. He left game one after a couple of shifts, I think, and he was not good in that series. He just couldn't move. And also Kevin Stevens, who I think is one of the more underrated players of all time, and he was really, really great then. He got hurt in Game 7. He had a big collision with Richard Pilon and had major facial surgery. He was never the same. In fact, he developed a drug addiction at that time, which was large in part because of all the painkillers and everything he was taking after that hit. And he was, in many ways, the Penguins' leader. Mario was the captain, but Stevens was the voice, and for him to get hurt in the first period of that game, that didn't do the Penguins any favor.
He was able to provide some level of protection for Lemieux because he played in the same line. And the picture I saw of him after he was in the hospital, his face was just puffed up. He just didn't look like, you couldn't recognize it. Kevin said,
he's one of my favorite people. He's a good friend of mine, and he's told me the story. He had the radio next to his ear. Like he was barely conscious before he went into surgery. It was during the game, and the Penguins had just scored to send the game to overtime with the goalie pulled. And he heard them tie the game, and then they had to go into emergency surgery. And he woke up from the surgery. It was like 4 a.m, and he woke up, and Rick Tocchet was sitting there with him. He went to his hotel room to sit, or his hospital room to sit with him, and he said, "I saw the look on Tocc's face, and I said, we lost, didn't we?" And Toc said, "Yeah, we did." That's the first thing he asked.
Yeah, that's too bad. And okay, going back to the rapid fire questions, I'm going to say just a few more questions I want to ask you. Playing 95, top 3 teams you like to play with in the game. Pittsburgh obviously going to be one of them, but what are your other 2 favorite
Yeah,
teams?
Pittsburgh certainly was number one. I really enjoyed being Vancouver. That was kind of my mistress team growing up. I always kind of liked the Canucks. Pavel Bure. Yeah, he was just a little different, obviously, the speed that he played with. Yeah, I really like the Canucks a lot. My third team, I kind of enjoyed being the Winnipeg Jets, as I recall, on occasion.
Cincinnati.
Little Temu, yeah.
Yeah.
So those would be my top 3, I think.
How about the 3 worst teams you like or you hate to play with?
Oh boy, I remember the Senators and Sharks were really bad, right? I think those were the ones that were really bad, and as a kid I hated the Rangers.
Uh-huh.
Probably like the '94 Rangers are my most hated team. I just despise that team
That
to this day.
figures. Yeah, that
So
figures.
I admit it. There's some Rangers fan out there watching. See, he hates the Rangers. Yeah. All right, I was a kid, but the '94 because especially in the United States, like, oh, you heard about New York. Like, New York was the only city that mattered. So ESPN made such a big deal about the Rangers winning the cup. I always found it kind of obnoxious.
When you play the crease cross, when you cross the crease and you shoot that easy goal, is that cheating, or fair game?
I say it's fair game. I mean, it's not like there weren't ways to defend it. I mean, you knew the other. Now, if you're playing the computer, it was cheating, I guess. I say if you're playing one on one, I don't think it was necessarily cheating, but I would talk about it before I played against someone. Like, hey, is it fair game or not? And sometimes the answer was yes. Sometimes it was no. I personally never had a problem with it. You could still defend it and use it to your advantage on occasion, if you knew they were going for it. But I understand why people would think that way. So I just think it's important to have video game ethics and be on the same page, right?
Are you an auto goalie guy or a manual goalie guy?
I generally preferred manual, which is like I found with manuals sometimes you would screw up and give up really soft goals,
Yeah.
but it would also give you an opportunity to make more spectacular saves. I found.
It can also stop those
Ultimately, I'm
pre-cross
lose a
goals.
bit. That's right. And like, if I'm gonna play a video game, I want to be in control. I don't want the computer dictating if I win or lose. I guess I'm a control freak in that way. So, like when I'm in a car, I always like to be the one driving the car. Yeah. So I would typically, and I thought once if you practice at it, it actually got to be kind of fun if you got good at it.
So I got just a few more questions to ask you. Do you have a most memorable win that you had when playing the game?
Yeah, I I do. It was my first year of college. Told you. So Jesse and I were playing all the time in these tournaments, but we waited for Thanksgiving break for the playoffs, and we had both of our respective girlfriends like come over to my mom's house to like. I was hoping Tiffany would cheer me on and Jamie would cheer on Jesse. And 5 minutes in, I realized this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. They both want to break up with us. They're so bored right now. And so we were playing a best of 7 series. And like Jesse would beat me on occasion, but I was definitely better than him. So I just freaking steamrolled him in a 4-game sweep because I had to end that as quickly as possible so we could take them out to a movie or something. So I was like the Red Army. I was like Team Canada against Italy or whatever. Like, I wasn't messing around at all.
How about the most memorable loss you ever had?
Oh boy. Yeah, so my most memorable loss in video games was actually I'll tell you the story. It's actually funny. It's a football game playing against Jesse, and I was up like 3 points, and it was just time to take a knee, and I had the ball at his 1 yard line. There's like literally 2 seconds left, and I just ran a play anyway just to run up the score, and my running back fumbled, and he returned the fumble like 99 yards for a touchdown, and I lost. That's definitely my most memorable loss. In hockey, oh boy, I don't know if I had one. Maybe it's still coming. I don't know.
The book has yet to be finalized. Yeah, there's still
Probably
some
the
memorable.
case.
Do Do you still? I mean, this is gonna be my last question to you. Do you still? Are you in touch with Jesse at all?
Oh yeah, yeah. We should play. He lives in Kentucky now, so he lives about a 6-hour drive from Pittsburgh. So we might have to play online for old time's sake. That would probably be a good thing. Actually,
Yeah, maybe gotta.
I will not make his wife sit in the room and cheer for him. That's fine. It's okay. I learned my lesson that actually video games for some people are not fun unless they're playing them. So lesson learned.
So, last thing, if you can make one thing 95 a better game, just change one thing, what would it be?
Oh man,
if it's a perfect game, it's the perfect game for you.
it is. You know what I love though that more modern games did and a lot of football games did. Like I loved when there were like classic teams and games, like you could play with the 78 Canadians or the 84 Oilers or whatever. Like that would have been cool. That's I always appreciated that feature in games. I always thought that was so cool. Like, oh, let's play the 1980 U.S. Olympic team or one of the Red Army teams or whatever. That's the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question. But again, I don't question perfection, and that game was as good as it got as far as I was concerned. Even the glitches were awesome. That's when you know you have a good game.
They were features.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. But before we just end this, I just want to hand the baton to you. If anyone wants to reach out to you and talk to you about 95 or whatever, where can they reach you?
Yeah, well, you can find me on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way. I think my name's Josh Yohe _PGH. Yeah, feel free to I have my DMs are open. If you want to, challenge me to a game, talk video games, I'm perfectly fine with that. You can find me at The Athletic too. That's if you actually want to check out my day job and read my articles. That would be greatly appreciated. And I don't know. I know you're based outside of Toronto. I don't know how many of your listeners or viewers are in Toronto or in the GTA as they like to call it. But we have like 1 million Maple Leafs writers because I know how many fans there are. So we have a lot of Leafs fans. So if you haven't signed up for The Athletic yet, you should because you can read all about the Leafs every day in full detail.
The pain of the Leaf fan, it's 60 something years.
It's a real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing. I know it is.
It is what it is. What's the PGH stand for in your Twitter handle?
Pittsburgh. This is a Pittsburgh.
Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to come on, brother. This is fun.
My pleasure. We should play sometime. Sometime I'm driving through Oakville. I'm just going to crash your house and have a controller with me. I'm good to go. No, but have me on anytime. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate it, brother. Take care.
You too.
Well, we got another one in the books. I hope you enjoyed this one. And before I sign off, I'd like to ask if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on Apple Podcast or Spotify, please give me a like and subscribe as this helps me out with the algorithm. And hopefully we can spread the 94 word to a wider audience. Appreciate all the support. And I'll be back at this again very soon.